Whenever I encounter a baseball game these days, I have to think, well, at least I'm one more baseball game closer to never having to play an 8-bit baseball game again. There's actually quite a few changes for this fourth installment in Jaleco's baseball series. Bases Loaded skipped the dire Moeiro Pro Yaku 89. The first big change is obvious. Jaleco has a new title for the games. They're following in Namco's footsteps, where they abbreviated their baseball franchise title from Family Stadium to Famista. So it's no longer Moeiro Pro Yaku, it's Moe Pro. That's the abbreviation that Japanese fans had been using anyways. The next big change is that there's no more league play. You pick a team that you're going to play as, and then you pick a computer team that you're going to play against. Moe Pro actually had the licenses for the teams, but not the players. They could also identify the stadiums by name, rather than just a loose description. There's an additional team in the game called E, and that's a team that you can edit yourself. You could do the obvious thing and keep the stats up to date on your favorite team, but since there's no restrictions, you could also make a team full of superstars, or make the worst team ever to play against. The on-field action is up to the typical standards of Moe Pro, which is pretty bad. The first major problem here is that they inverted the usual field perspective. Home plate is at the top, outfield is at the bottom. I suppose you can get used to it eventually, but it is so different from all of the other baseball games that I've been playing that my muscle memory was all screwed up. Besides that, you're going to notice that the perspective on the ball is a bit off. When you're batting, for example, it can be hard to tell when to swing, but don't worry, if the ball gets past you before you reach the midpoint of the swing, it can still be called as a ball. Moe Pro is infamous for that bug. But then let's say the ball is hit. Sometimes the ball will just seem to hover a few feet off the ground as it moves. Any player who crosses its path will catch it for an out. And of course you have the usual problem of not being able to see your fielders, but still have to guide them to where the ball will wind up. There's another issue with the pitching in this game. Worn-out pitchers will regularly throw a 51 km/h pitch. There's only one pitch in the recorded history of baseball that slow, and it happened in the past 5 years. The pitching is just awkward in general, with no sensation of speed on those balls. I think that's due to the compressed angle from the pitcher to the batter. There's no room to have a ball go fast. If you win your game against the computer, then you get a special score for how you did. It ranks you on a scale of 100 points, and it factors in things like if you walked anybody, if you got a bunch of runs in a single inning, or if you've stolen bases. How well you do determines how much the difficulty increases for the next opponent. There's 5 levels of difficulty, and if you defeat the maximum difficulty, then you reach the end of the game. So theoretically, you could beat Moe Pro 90 in 2 games. There's no passwords or battery saves for this one. The only game mode for a single player is trying to beat those stronger computer opponents, and you have to do it in a single sitting. I have to say, I think Moe Pro 90 is better than Moeiro Pro Yaku 89. But that's because 89 was truly awful. 90 is just really bad. So I guess that's an improvement.